There is no shortage of crime drama TV shows based on real cases, but some stand above the rest as truly excellent. Given the old saying that the truth is stranger than fiction, and the intense, attention-grabbing headlines of certain crimes, it makes sense that many showrunners would turn to the real world when crafting a story. But, of course, not every series that dramatizes a person's disturbing story or a memorable trial is well done. In some cases, these series are too sensational, like Ryan Murphy's Monster. While several parts of the season about Jeffrey Dahmer were based on facts, many felt it was disrespectful toward the victims, and the Charlie Dunham starring Monster, the Ed James story is attracting even more controversy. However, whether they humanize the people we read about in the news or make changes that work well for the story, these crime dramas are incredibly powerful. American Crime Story, 2016 present. Season 1's depiction of the O.J. Simpson murder trial is the show at its best. Sarah Paulson and Sterling K. Brown in court in American Crime Story. While American Crime Story Seasons 2 and 3 look at the murder of Gianni Versace and Bill Clinton's Monica Lewinsky scandal and impeachment, the first season is as captivating as it is disturbing. The People vs. O.J. Simpson does an excellent job dramatizing the trial of Simpson, who was accused of killing Ronald Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson, his ex-wife. As Slate notes, some things were altered for the series. For example, while O.J. phones Robert Shapiro, David Schwimmer, to request representation, in real life, Roger King, an executive at CBS, suggested the lawyer. The important parts are there, though, including Marsha Clark, Sarah Paulson, explaining that Nicole Brown dialed 911 times because of Simpson. American Crime Story is a crucial entry in the genre, telling a story about race, domestic violence, and the media circus of a big trial. A Friend of the Family, 2022. The upsetting true tale of Jan Broberg is explored here. McKenna Grace in A Friend of the Family. A Friend of the Family is based on the disturbing true story of Jan Broberg, played perfectly by McKenna Grace, whose neighbor, Robert Berchtold, Jake Lacy, kidnapped her and convinced her to marry him. Although it's hard to watch, it's an important show about the scary implications of grooming. However, several things were changed for the show. According to IndieWire, the show depicts Jan's father Bob with a gun, but he didn't have one. A Friend of the Family also mentions that Joe Berchtold, Robert's brother, wasn't sure about talking to the FBI about his sibling, which wasn't the case in real life. But these changes were minimal, and they don't alter how well A Friend of the Family shows the trauma that Jan feels, along with the way her abduction affects her parents. The Act, 2019. The Hulu miniseries dramatizes Gypsy Rose Blanchard's story. Joey King as Gypsy Rose Blanchard in The Act. The world has been fascinated by Gypsy Rose Blanchard, the now 34-year-old who was sentenced to a decade in prison for the murder of her mother Dee Dee, which she allegedly had her then-boyfriend Nick Gojon commit. The Act shares the alarming story, with strong performances from Joey King and Patricia Arquette as the daughter and mother. Now that Gypsy Rose has been out of prison since the end of 2023, the Hulu series feels even more meaningful and significant, as it explores the emotion behind the news headlines. The episodes share Gypsy Rose's online relationship with Nick and the trauma she faced on behalf of Dee Dee, who made it look like Gypsy Rose was sick. At its core, The Act is a devastating look at Munchausen syndrome by proxy. It also works as a companion piece to the Lifetime documentary The Prison Confessions of Gypsy Rose Blanchard and the series Gypsy Rose, Life After Lockup, where Gypsy Rose talks about her experiences. Under the Bridge, 2024. The Hulu series is adapted from Rebecca Godfrey's 2005 non-fiction book. Reena Vik, Vritika Gupta, in Under the Bridge. Under the Bridge feels so authentic that it could be a docuseries about the disturbing murder of British Columbia-based teenager Reena Vik, but the Hulu miniseries isn't 100% factual. While late reporter Rebecca Godfrey researched the case and wrote a book about it, she didn't help investigate the murder. That's one notable change made in Under the Bridge. This change works perfectly, though, as it gives Riley Keough's version of Rebecca more power, agency, and a stronger presence in the story. As she looks into Reena's case, Rebecca comes to terms with her own tragedy and the reason she left home several years ago. The change also strengthens the narrative as the show tells two stories about how grief affects a family. Instead of only painting Reena as a victim, you learn about her wish to break free from her family before her death, while also sympathizing with her parents. Under the Banner of Heaven, 2022. The adaptation of the Jon Krakauer book has 7 episodes. Andrew Garfield in Under the Banner of Heaven. Under the Banner of Heaven isn't an easy watch, as the real-life case about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints members, Dan and Ron Lafferty, who were sentenced for the murder of their sister-in-law and child. Although this really happened, Andrew Garfield's detective character, Jeb Pyer, was made up for the show. Religion is rarely an easy topic to talk about or watch, so it was smart of the writers to add Jeb to the FX Hulu series, as this gives you a more relatable character to focus on. The series also has a great cast, which includes Rory Culkin and Wyatt Russell, and it's as scary as it is gripping. Unbelievable, 2019. A harrowing true story comes to life in the Netflix miniseries. Caitlin Dever as Marie in a hospital gown in Unbelievable. As reported by Vogue, Unbelievable tells the story of Marie, a woman whom Edna Hendershot and Stacey Galbraith, two detectives, realized was telling the truth about being raped, despite Marie telling police officers she was attacked and then saying she lied. The Netflix series stars Caitlin Dever as Marie, and Merritt Wever and Toni Collette play new characters who have different names than the real detectives. The 8 episodes are based on Ken Armstrong and T. Christian Miller's book A False Report and also their article about the case. The show emphasizes how harrowing it is to report assault and have no one believe you, and since Marie is unfortunately and tragically not the only woman who this has happened to, it's an incredibly important story to tell. The Dropout, 2022. Elizabeth Holmes's life before and during the founding of Theranos is depicted. Amanda Seyfried as Elizabeth Holmes in The Dropout. A crime drama about the founder of a health tech company who was sentenced to prison for fraud needs an excellent lead actor, as it's hard to feel empathy or compassion for her. Thankfully, Amanda Seyfried gave a career-defining and Emmy-winning performance as Theranos founder Elizabeth Holmes, even lowering her voice to match Holmes's pitch. While no one would agree with her actions, The Dropout helps viewers understand the real figure behind the news stories, and tells a crucial story about having ambition and following dreams while needing to be realistic about what's possible in any field or industry. It explores many key details, including Holmes's education at Stanford, where she started thinking of inventions.